All right, we're gonna look at a list that I'm sure you've seen a lot of if you played any of the Pokemon TCG Live client, and a definite favorite of mine since Paldea Evolved dropped, and probably going forward, unless something else changes or something comes out that kind of sways me a little bit more. One of the decks that I think is the most competitive, one of the top competitive contenders out there right now, it is Chien Pao EX. There's a lot of different variations of this deck list out right now, including a bunch of different mons and a bunch of different other item cards, supporter cards than you're gonna see here. But this, in my opinion, is one of the cleanest, easiest to set up, and smoothest attacking lists that there is out there. And I've tested a lot. I've pretty much played this deck consistently nonstop in a million different variations since it released. So if you're curious about any of that footage, I do store my VODs on this channel as well. So that's going to be in a separate section, and there are several days of us just kind of going through, deep diving, and finding out what does and doesn't work for us. And I feel like now I'm at a point where I'm super happy with the list, I'm super comfortable with the list, and that's why it's coming out at this time rather than at the beginning of a cycle where the cards would be released and I feel like dropping it, because I want to get in there and actually play with it, test it out, find something that I like, make sure that it's going to be something cool, worth building, and not wasting your guys' time with it. So let's go ahead and check out the list. All right, Chien Pao. Let's see what we got here. The deck list will be below in the description if you want to just copy paste it into your TCG clients and test it out for yourself. Make it nice and easy for you. It is also going to be found in the Discord if you're interested in joining that, along with a lot of other deck lists from people that provide lists, as well as my own. Will also be in there. And if you want to catch us live at any time playing this or any other decks, or just hanging out and playing some Pokemon, talking some Pokemon, we stream Pokemon every Friday and Saturday on my Twitch channel, which is Feared Waffle. One word, spelled exactly how it sounds. I'll also have the link to that below in this video. Without further ado, let's check it out. So this list contains, we have 3 copies of Chien Pao EX. This is going to be your main attacker of the board for the most part. Okay, and then following that, we've got Radiant Greninja, 1 copy of Radiant Greninja. We've got 3 Frigibax. I play 2 of the 60 HP Frigibax, along with 1 of the 70 HP Frigibax. If you're ever in a situation where Sableye might be an issue or a problem, because sometimes Lost Box has the ability to set up insanely fast, and they're ready to rock a Sableye or anything else that kind of does like weak bench damage, you're kind of covered here, at least for one turn. Okay, following that, we have 2 Lumineons, Lumineon V, and that's going to be your support draw card. It's going to help you get your Iridas, it's going to help you get your Boss's Orders, it's going to help you get your Melony, and it's also going to be able to be used to attach your Forest Seal Stone, so you'll see that later. We have 1 copy of Manaphy to protect your bench from any potential damage, minus the ones that Manaphy can do nothing against. We have 3 copies of Baxcalibur, so 3/3 line of Frigibax and Baxcalibur. There's no stage 1 here. We have 1 copy of Starmie V, and we mainly use this for its free retreat cost if it is in the active, and we need to, or if we did suffer a KO and we need to put something in the active, it has a nice free retreat. We also will use it for its energy spiral, which is still very useful. It is 50, it is for 2 water, 50x, where x is how many energy are attached to your opponent's Pokemon. So if somebody's using an Arceus or something other than that, that's going to attach a bunch of energy used to attack, then Starmie is pretty much a 1-hit shot. Now it is kind of squishy with the 190, but we're gonna fix that in a bit. We also have the Drapion V. This is there for Mew VMAX, pretty much. That's about it. You could use it in a Rapid Strike scenario, but chances of it actually being able to really do some damage against a Rapid Strike deck are not very likely. So now let's get on to the item cards. We've got 3 copies of Battle VIP Pass, and this card is going to allow us to draw basics off of the very first turn, and later in the game it's going to become a burn card, so we're using it to get, ideally we're using it to get these guys over here, Frigibax, Radiant Greninja, and possibly Chien Pao. And also, depending the matchup, you're also going to want to grab maybe a Manaphy too. So that's kind of what you're going for with the Battle VIP Pass. And make sure I kind of keep this in the camera for you guys. This is my first deck list video, so it's going to be a little weird. We have Superior Energy Retrieval. This is discard 2 cards from your hand, and you're going to retrieve up to 4 basic energy cards, and you cannot choose the cards that you discard. So if you discard 2 energies with this card, those 2 energies are unable to be grabbed back. So don't get confused by that, because I definitely did when I first started using this, and I was thinking, oh man, I can grab a ton of energy with this. And yeah, you can't do it if you discard those. It clearly says it on here, so make sure that you read. But that's going to help you charge up your Chien Pao and or any of your other attackers that you choose to use, which all of these, even though Chien Pao is your main attacker, your secondary backup attacker is definitely going to be Radiant Greninja. You also have the ability to tag somebody with Lumineon and put everything back into your deck, and allowing you to be able to potentially grab another supporter, which is nice. And you have obviously the ability to use Starmie. So then we play 3 rare candies, and rare candy is going to allow you to skip an evolution stage. So you basically skip stage 1, and you're going to go from basic to stage 2, and that's what we use to get our Baxcalibur online and working. Following that, we have Switch. We play 2 copies of Switch, and that is going to, I mean, just pretty much allow you to move a bench to the active, vice versa. Escape Rope does the same thing, except the opponent is also going to switch out one of theirs with one of their bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon, and they actually will do that first. So you can make your switch based on what you see their switch do. Canceling Cologne is kind of just one of those tech cards. There's 1 copy of this. This is going to negate Pokemon with abilities that are in the active or that should become active. So if you happen to somehow gust one of their Pokemon while you've already used this and it has an ability, it will also still be canceled for 1 turn. This is mainly for Tinglu matchups or matchups that kind of try and block Chien Pao from doing what he needs to do as far as using a Shivery Chill to pull energy. And it can also set up in a match like Gardevoir a really crucial key for Radiant Greninja to pull up the Manaphy and be able to use Moonlight Shuriken, which does 90 damage after you discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. It can also be it can be used to basically wipe Krillias off the board, or Ralts. So it's pretty nice. It definitely has more uses than the Tinglu matchup. I would definitely say it also plays a key role in the Guardy matchup if they don't bench their Manaphy. And if they do, then, you know, you have that option. There are also a lot of other decks out there that use Manaphy as protection for some of their smaller, you know, Pokemon. Forest Seal Stone is a huge addition to this that I just recently made inside the deck. We played 2 copies of this. This basically lets you use Star Alchemy, which lets you search your deck for any card that's in it and put it in your hand. So this is insanely amazing. Should you, I mean, more than likely you're benching a Lumineon to grab a supporter, and then you pretty much are just attaching this, and you know, you've got a V-Star ability. This deck doesn't play Arceus to grab a card. It doesn't play Palkia to use their ability for the water attachment. So Forest Seal Stone is kind of a no-brainer, but I didn't really discover it until like maybe a week ago. And it has been wonders because, I mean, it pulls whatever you need whenever you need it, and it's beautiful. So that's this. 2 copies of that. We've got Lost Vacuum to bounce stadiums. Most importantly, to bounce like Path to the Peak, which is probably the most annoying stadium for this build, because a lot of Pokemon in this deck rely on abilities. Now, if you're pathed and you've got a decent amount of energy in your hand, and you've already got your Baxcalibur online, it's not as big of a deal, and you just happen to have some superior energy retrievals in your hand, it's not as big of a deal because you can still use Baxcalibur because he is not a rule box Pokemon. So it's there for that. It can also remove any kind of item or tool card from a Pokemon that might have one attached, such as like a Brave Charm, like we're going to see up next, or a belt, which really doesn't play too much damage into this, or a band, or just pretty much any item that could be annoying. So there's one. We have 1 copy of Lost Vacuum in here. Next up we have the Bravery Charm, which adds 50 HP to basic Pokemon. This is also a huge addition to this. You have to be kind of selective because there's only 2. The main 2 people you're going to want to attach it to are your Chien Pao and your Starmie, because that brings Starmie up to, what is it, like 10, a nice 240. So it's basically like a high-end V Pokemon there. Avoiding a lot of one-shots that do, you know, your 200 damage, like your Arceus, or if it's doesn't have a double turbo attached, or if it has a belt, I think you still avoid a hit with a belt. You're looking at 230 or 220. So it does avoid that too. Very good against Arceus. Could be very good against Duraludon. And then other like lower end hitting Pokemons. It could pretty much save your Starmie for an extra turn, which is, it could mean everything, you know? That's a 2-prizer right there, easy 2-prizer. And then on Chien Pao, your main attacker, this is pretty much making him 270, which is very, very nice. You're up there in the low end V-Star HP, so that's pretty cool, and I think that's awesome. I mean, you also have the option in pinches. There are matches where it might suit you to put one on the Lumineon. I mean, this is like once in, you know, not very often at all. Do not count on putting this on Lumineon. And Radiant Greninja as well. Again, very, very small chance that you're going to actually do that. Now, you also could even attach it to your Frigibax. If for some reason your Frigibax is stuck in the active and you need to keep it there for a turn and you just happen to have this, you know, you could also defensively use it there. Anything basic for the most part, but you're going to want to use it like 99% of the time on Chien Pao or Starmie or Lumineon for the most part. Because then Lumineon could also shuffle it back into your deck, which is nice. So 2 copies of that. We've got 1 copy of Hisuian Heavy Ball. This ball lets you search through your prizes for a basic Pokemon and switch it out with this card. So we're getting into the ball cards now. And this one you're mainly using for if your Radiant Greninja gets prized, because early game, if Radiant Greninja gets prized, it's very hard to kind of get through your cards, dig into your deck and really pull out what you need to pull out and get your setup going and moving. If you do happen to have this guy and, you know, you're missing other pieces, you're looking for a nice one to have prizes, the Lumineon, because you're putting it in your hand, so it's not going straight to the table, which is nice, and a Chien Pao. Or your Manaphy if it's, you know, a mirror or anything else like that. But for the most part, I have him in here. I have the Heavy Ball in here if Greninja's in trouble. So following that up, we have the Nest Ball. We got 2 copies of the Nest Ball, and the Nest Ball is going to let you search out a basic Pokemon and put it straight to the bench. Those is early game Frigibax, Radiant Greninja, Manaphy, maybe your Starmie. You really only want to bench Starmie if you're gonna use Starmie or you're about to use Starmie. Other than that, you kind of want to keep it in your hand because that's kind of like your secret sauce, you know? This is like, I want to hold on to this and not really let my opponent know that I have this. With so many different variations of Chien Pao, it is becoming like a sort of a guessing game. So the more information you can withhold from your opponent for the longer time, then the better that suits you potentially in the long run. Or your Chien Paos you can use for the Nest Ball. Ultra Ball lets you be very specific about your choice, and it is going to discard 2 cards from your hand and pick any Pokemon. So you can take your Baxcalibur or any of these ones that you see in front of you. 2 copies of Ultra Ball. Now onto the stadiums, we've got Lost City. These are very, very interchangeable except for one of them, so I would say Lost City would be the one that would be interchangeable. But this one I found has the best, like, I guess overall necessity rate. This is really great against like Gardevoir or another matchup where I feel unfavored, but you might not necessarily be unfavored. I don't really know the 100% statistics, but I know out of all the matches I've played, it's one that we struggle with, which is Lost Box. Or the Magician's deck, I call it basically, because that's another one. You're pulling rabbits out of a hat. You never know what they're going to use or what they got in there. There are some common iterations of it, but it's pretty much just become, you know. Let's just go with that, you know. So this will put it away forever in the game. You don't have to really worry about that. One copy of that. We've got 2 copies of probably the best stadium for this deck, which is Skaters Park. Sadly and unfortunately, I really do not have this come up too often in my play. Even digital or in paper, this thing disappears into my 60 cards and it's just never to be found. I know we're only playing 2 copies of it, but I don't think there's a need to really go any heavier on it. What this does is when it's in play, it allows you to retreat, or it allows Pokemon to retreat, and any basic energy that was attached to it goes straight back into your hand. So it's great if you want to set up like a Chien Pao loop, or you want to save that energy to be able to Baxcalibur it to something else. So it's great to like draw with Chien Pao, Shivery Chill, 2 energy, you attach, then you retreat to Radiant Greninja, and then you got the 2 energy in your hand already, or even better, retreat into another Chien Pao who can also use his ability, and then if you got a switch, you can switch into another Chien Pao. I mean, you get the idea here. And you're able to keep that in your hand and attach it to any other Pokemon who might come up and wish to attack. So now we're gonna get into the supporters, probably the key most important supporter in this deck. There's 3 copies of it in my list. It is Irida, and she is going to allow you to draw a water Pokemon and an item card from your hand. So you cannot use her to get your Brave Charm since the new set rules have been released. The Brave Charm is gonna hang back because that is considered a tool card now. But other than that, she can get anything you see on the board minus Stadium, so like remove this, but she can get you any of these items that you see on the board, which are juicy and delicious and very necessary. The most common ones that you're going for with Irida early game would be Rare Candy, Baxcalibur. This is pretty much like your first Irida right here, for the most part, unless you know you God tier draw and you just have everything in your hand. If that's the situation, it's even better because then you're pretty much either drawing a backup Chien Pao, you can grab a Lumineon to ensure an additional Irida. This is what I like to do a lot of times, is usually grab Lumineon, Superior Energy Retrieval later in the game, so then you've got the Energy Retrieval card to replenish your energy after an attack, and you also have the Lumineon to grab you an additional supporter, which would either be Irida or a Boss's Orders. You're going to want to use multiple Iridas because later in the game, the main card that you're looking to get out of that is your Energy Retrieval, because this is going to allow you, every time Chien Pao attacks, it discards all its energy. This is going to allow you to go back in your discard and pull all of that energy back out. Boss's Orders, this is my favorite one. I like the Cyrus. This basically allows you to grab a Pokemon from the bench and bring it forward, so you can attack or disrupt or deflect or whatever you want to do. 2 copies of Boss Order. We've got 2 copies of Iono, and this is a disruption card, and also it could be used as a draw card depending on the situation. It's going to shuffle your cards in your hand, put them at the bottom of the deck, and then you're going to draw cards that basically were never in your hand based on how many prizes you got. Okay, I explained that really bad, but that's the gist of it. However many prizes you got, 6 prizes, you're going to draw 6 prizes, or you're going to draw 6 cards from your deck. So if you got 3 prizes, you're going to draw 3. So late game, this could be a disruptive card. If your opponent's ahead and they're down to like 2 or like 1 prize left, and you're in a clutch situation where you need to make some moves. You need to disrupt. You need to do some damage. You're going to want to play Iono, and then they're going to pretty much only be able to draw 1 card. So it may brick them and create enough time for you to actually, come ahead and take the lead. And early game, if you have a hand of complete dog trash, then you can pretty much put that at the bottom of your deck and draw 6 fresh new cards. And not have to lose any of them that you would in a Professor's Research. Followed by that, we have kind of the Spice card. Also, to go along with Starmie, we have the Melony. This is kind of in conjunction with the Starmie. It is pretty much attach a water energy from discard to one of your Pokemon V and then draw 3 cards. So it's nice in an ideal situation that you're going to attach it to Starmie. Starmie only needs 2 water to attack, so you didn't attach from hand. So if you have one in your hand or you draw one off of a water off of those 3 cards, you can attach and you're already attacking with Starmie. Great, awesome, delicious. In a pinch, it is nice to attach it to a Lumineon, because the nice thing about Chien Pao is it's nice to attach. Hold on, let me not go too fast here. It's nice to attach to a Lumineon because then you're still going to get the draw 3. Okay. Chien Pao, when it attacks, Hailblade uses water energy from anything that water energy is attached to on your side of the board. So it's very nice. No matter where this water energy is, Chien Pao can discard it. So Melony's not a very often found one in these lists, but I think it could be very crucial. Sometimes you just don't have the draw power. Sometimes your Radiant Greninja gets knocked out, and you just need a little bit more to dig through and kind of get in. And then last but not least, we have 10 water energies. This is what I've seen the sweet spot number, and for the most part, I've used up to 11 or 10, and this says 10 has just been working for me, so why change it, you know? It's always just enough, and it pretty much, you can recover a lot of it, and it does, you know, let's say 6 energy, you're pretty much knocking out anything in the game, because that's 360 damage. So that's kind of the list that we're at, and this is probably, in my eyes, this is my favorite iteration of it. It's clean, it's simple, you know, you're using your Chien Pao mainly. You've got high counts in the other cards that, you know, you're using to get there, and you're not playing a lot of supporters, because the main one you want to use half the time is Irida. If you're not using Irida, you want to be using Boss. Like, that's it, you know? I mean, you've got the late pinch Iono or the early draw Iono if you really need it. You know, you want to get your Frigibax going. I always recommend at least getting 2 in play. You know, you can only evolve 1, but at least get 2 in play, because if that gets knocked out, you're at a pivotal spot where you could just lose the whole entire game, because that's your engine, that's your attach engine. You really need that. The nice sweet backup to that in this list is the Starmie, because you won't lose the energy. It will stay attached to Starmie, but Starmie is kind of squishy, and it only hits hard if your opponent has a lot of energy. So yeah, I know it's a hot jumble right here, but I will have the full list below if you guys are interested in copying and pasting. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know with a comment or a like or something. This is the first video in the whole series of deck lists, because I really want to take my time with these. I really want them to be good, and I want them to be informative, and I want them to be decks that I enjoy playing. I don't want to just push stuff out that, you know, it is what it is. So that's it. Trainer Waffle out.